Why do I paint? It relaxes me. I feel an energy. I like to keep busy and keep my mind working, and it just, it's fun to kind of go into whatever that world is that I'm working on at the time. I used to take art with my mother because she didn't want to get a babysitter. So I was in like 4th grade, and I have a drawing in my bathroom of me, of my father when I was 3, just titled Man. So I've been doing it forever, and it turned into scenic art. Then the scenic art eventually has turned into fine art, which it was in the beginning, and now it's fine art again. And so I've done it all my life. Started as an oil painter, and then I went into, I didn't like acrylics, so I kind of got out of that in undergraduate school because I have a minor in art from undergraduate school. And then I got into watercolor because that's the medium that most scenic designers work in, so I decided that that was what I had to learn, and it was a very difficult medium until I got involved at the Art Students League, and one particular teacher that I'm with now just kind of changed my style, my life, my enjoyment of doing watercolor. I don't start a watercolor and expect to just finish it. I have to unfinish it first and then figure out how to fix it. I mean, that's more the style that we work in, is we construct it to deconstruct it. Because if you just are doing a watercolor where you put everything down and leave it, then you're doing illustration. If you're creating art, then it has to go beyond the illustration that you would put in a book. It has to go into something that is not necessarily the reality that you saw, but the reality you feel. I paint from photographs. I do a lot of biking. I love to travel, and now that I've learned how to take photographs that I can use, I paint mostly architecture and buildings and landscapes, some still lifes. The juxtaposition of light and dark is what really makes a good painting for me. I think the Dutch masters, like Vermeer, is one of my favorite painters because he had such a mastery of light and dark that actually gave you the emphasis of where the focus was to be. And sometimes you can get light and dark in a painting, but there's no focus, and so you have to go beyond what the photo had in order to make the painting work as an art piece rather than just a photograph. I put in all the deepest, darkest shadows and do most of it in values of grays or sepias, whatever the undertone of the shadows are, and then I go back and start putting in the mediums and the lights. You start to see the painting much quicker by having the shadows there, and you really, I paint right over the shadows with tones of color eventually, and the color comes through. But if you want it really dark, it still is dark, and it's such an exciting way to work. I take lots of photographs, and then when I get them home and I've got them off the camera and into my photo file online, I go back and look at them. And it's interesting because some days I really want to paint that. And then I draw it, and it sits in my pile of drawings for, a year, because the next day it doesn't inspire me the same way. So it's kind of what I see in it at the time and what it looks like when I actually get it on the painting. And then it also depends on what show's coming up and what I need to get done for some kind of exhibition. The Paris Opera that I did, which won the New Jersey Watercolor Society Award, is still my favorite, and I've got a couple now that I'm working on from Central Park in the snow that I'm trying to do in that same style, because it's a very complicated, intricate pattern that you establish first. And from that, I then try to create a painting. So that's good. I love the ones I've done from my travels overseas. This is in Firenze in Florence, Italy, and I was there in March. And I started by going in and putting in all of these sort of dark shapes and where the dark areas were going to be, and defining all of this architecture. And because there's a few lights that kind of reflect this gold quality that the photo had, I then went back and I just kind of put those tones in and let them run. And then a lot of my work is done by erasing. So I take a squirt bottle and I take off things. Like this is all stuff that was there that was way too dark, and if you hit it really close, it just kind of wipes it out. And it's like power washing a car. And to get the spots out, you just hit it really close, and then it takes out where you want it to come out, and then you can glaze and glaze and glaze. So this has lots and lots of layers, and drips are okay because drips are what help form all of this wonderful stuff that's going on down here. This one isn't finished, but it's close. It'll be in the exhibit at the Berlitz in June. So now I have to go back and pull out some of the highlights, because I try most of the time not to use white unless I'm doing a glaze that's supposed to create the atmosphere. But when I'm wanting it to be light or white, I try to go back to the paper. And scrubbing is with an oil painting brush that's stiffer is a great way to get that look. I think painting is a very individual, it's a choice that you make, how you want to paint, what medium you want to do, what you want to look like in the end. Some people love still to paint very fine detail into their watercolors. I like to splash and dash and mix it all up. But I think anybody can paint. Anybody can paint. But they don't all paint the same thing, and that's part of why art is so fabulous, because you can get their interpretation of their feeling. It would be really boring if we all worked like the Gutenberg press and turned out the same thing. It's better that we're all individual.
Define the word art.
Oh, come on. Art is, it's a creative thinking that anybody can have or do about a subject, a feeling, an emotion. It can either be, it can be an emotion that you get as an observer, or it can be the process you go through to arrive at an end product. And my art, what I think art is not the same thing that anybody else would think art is. I mean, I can look at a tree and see it as art. Another person looks at it and sees it as science. So it's the way you look at the world and all of the parts that go to make up that creation. And it can be singular, or it can be multiplied by everything that you have an emotion to. Wow. Well, for now, till it dries, like watching water boil, you have to stop sometimes and just wait. Wait till it decides to stop.